Welcome to Living Under New Mexico Skies, a podcast brought to you by Parnall Law. In this episode, we meet Bert Parnall, founder, owner, and CEO of the Parnall Law Firm in New Mexico. Bert is a seasoned personal injury attorney and former senior trial prosecutor who established his firm in 2009 to fight for justice for the wrongfully hurt. It's not easy to define Bert. He's not the kind of man you meet every day. And after our discussion, I believe you're lucky if you ever do. Bert has a profound dedication to helping others and defending the rights and welfare of his community. Okay, let's get this episode rolling. Hey, Bert, welcome to Living Under New Mexico Skies, man. It's really great to have you here.
Oh, absolutely, Chris. Great to be here.
Yeah, so tell us a little something about yourself.
Oh, about myself. That's a broad question.
Yeah.
There's a lot. I need to write a book. But, I'm pretty, straightforward. I don't have too many complicated things going on, but in my head.
Yeah.
But if I think back to my past, I've had a variety of adventures, and you might be surprised.
Yeah, well, I'm looking forward to it. As we go through our conversation, I know we're going to touch on some of those, so I'm really excited.
Yeah.
So how important is local to you, both personally and professionally? What does local mean to you?
Well, home is where the heart is.
Yeah.
And so, it's where your heart is. I mean, there's many. It's the hero's journey, really.
Right.
The hero's journey is, where the protagonist, the main character, is in his or her home, and they're called to an adventure, and they rise to the challenge, and they go outside of their home. And whether it's in their home or outside of their usual routine, they rise to the challenge. They learn. There's usually some kind of either victory or meaningful lesson, and they bring it back. They come home, and that's where it may not be the climax of the story, but that's where the rubber meets the road. That's where you put the lessons into use for the people around you.
I really like this, like the Odyssey. It comes back, with the journey and the accomplishments, and that's really good. And I think that leads to my next question about community and connections. I've heard you talk about that, the whole idea of connections and being in a community and how important those connections are. Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah. And I wanted to add, too, that there's this there's a deep lesson in Voltaire's Candide. Okay, that might be a little bit highfalutin.
Yeah. No, don't worry. This is good.
But there's a beautiful lesson in this story by Voltaire, one of the authors in the Enlightenment, who helped, create the Enlightenment. And it's a story called Candide. And he goes all around the world, but he really finds that, and he was trying to find, the best society, the best political system, the best culture. And in every situation, it's not. He doesn't find it, and when he comes home, he realizes, and he comes up with this saying, "Il faut cultiver son jardin."
Okay.
You have to cultivate your garden, and
interesting.
And so that is, the ultimate lesson is to cultivate the environment around you.
Wow.
And so for me, being local is cultivating that community and the environment around us.
Yeah, that's really good. Yeah, and the connections with the people who share that place with you. That leads me to my next question. What's your earliest memory as a kid of Albuquerque? When you finally were aware and you looked around, and what did you think about this community?
It's either pulling a toy duck behind me and having my younger brother crawl following the duck. That's the earliest memory.
Okay.
But in terms of Albuquerque, It's actually being on a truck going down this dirt road away from our home, a little bit outside of Albuquerque in Los Lunas, and we're driving down this dirt road away from our home to go turn on the highway, and that's and for me that memory is significant because it's that's just kind of what New Mexico is to me, driving down this dirt road, and it's also the journey, the journey.
That's great. I love that. So I've discovered in my research that you love to travel. And I'm curious, what do you get from traveling to places? What does it do? And you touched on it a little bit when you talked about going out on that Voltaire, that journey, and coming back. But what do you look for when you travel?
Yeah. Well, I was raised by, here in Albuquerque. We lived at the same house, but then we would go to other places to live. For instance, in Africa, in Ethiopia for 6 months during a revolution and a famine. In Egypt, where they had the bread couscous riots. In Tunisia, the bread riots. But we would always come back, and before we traveled again. And coming back was meaningful because I realized what a great place America and New Mexico and Albuquerque is. I mean, it is a really well-ordered society. I know there's a lot wrong, and I know there's a lot of challenges. But in terms of, I think it was it Winston Churchill, or I don't know who said it exactly, but our democracy is has so many problems with it, but it's the best one we've got.
Yes, I believe yes, that is the saying. You're right. And so many people have touched on that home, as you said, home is where the heart is. And you overlook, and there are things that we need to fix and improve, but it is home, and it's important. Well, when you travel, do you remember a song from years ago by the Love and Spoonful? There's a line where they say, how do you tell a stranger about rock and roll? So when you're on the road and you meet a stranger, how do you describe Albuquerque or New Mexico to someone who says, "Oh, you're from Albuquerque"? How do you describe it, or what do you say? I love your metaphor about the analogy of being on the dirt road. I mean that's pretty cool. But
one of my favorite books was Jack Kerouac, On the Road.
Me too. Yeah, exactly.
Well, I think I would start by describing our blue skies, our space, our frontiers, our horizons, and this being able to see all around. Because I think in many other places you're surrounded by either buildings or trees. Not here. So it's brown, it's dry, it's rocky, but it's beautiful, and we call it the land of enchantment for a reason. It's really it is enchanting. It's magical. So
I agree. I took my children back home to where I grew up in the Midwest once, and they said we could never live here. It's a jungle. And it made me laugh because they've grown up here with this amazing vistas and open skies, and so it's pretty cool. Well, Bert, where do you find inspiration? Where do you find it? I know you read a lot. I know you travel, but where do you find the inspiration that you need every day?
I find inspiration in many small and big things. But sometimes I'll be walking through the parking lot just to come into our building, in our office, and I think to myself, I get to work here. And I think that's inspiring to me to be able to serve the clients we do, to be able to work with the team that we have, and to be able to continue to live in this community and to help the clients that we serve.
I really like that. And what's interesting, I think you answered my next question, which was what motivates you every day. That's it. What you just said right there is the motivation, to help people and to think about where you live and where you work. So that's really cool. So who were your mentors as a child, as a student, as a young law student or a young attorney? Who are some of the people you looked to that you really said, wow, this person, I really believe this is a great mentor?
I think I have a lot of mentors because I need a lot of help. I have a lot of coaches. And I listen. I don't take all the advice I'm given, but I listen carefully, and I choose my path based on very good advice and guidance and insight. Some of my mentors have, my biggest mentor is my father,
Right.
and my
cool.
mother,
That's really
my
cool.
wife.
Right.
In a way, my kids, I learned from them. My football coach and
Yeah.
coaches,
Yeah.
my judo coach, Jesse Ballou, some of my teachers who I'm still in touch with from high school.
That's huge.
Yeah.
That's really good.
And so, people who have who serve as role models in one way or another to me, I think about, okay, how can I live, in that particular way,
Right.
to achieve, some of the things that they have.
Well, the one thing I'm really impressed about since I've been here with you at Parnall Law is your love of reading, but also dedication to training into books, because so many times we get reading assignments.
Mm-hmm.
And I haven't done that for years, since I worked for a lauded, famous old ad agency where the same thing was the policy. The owner believed, David Ogilvy, that, reading, what a great source of information. And, we used it. And here, it's so cool to be doing it again. So I'm really enjoying it.
Mm-hmm.
So, all right. So we've talked about that now, but what are some of the biggest challenges that you faced in your life? You've talked about mentors. You've talked about kind of your background, but what are some of the challenges that you faced, professionally or personally? Yeah, it's kind of a deep question, but I'm curious.
I think one of the biggest challenges was, finding my path to personal injury law.
Yeah.
Because I wasn't in my 20s. I went to law school. I worked hard, but I wasn't quite sure what I was going to do.
Okay.
And for a time, I really enjoyed writing. I wasn't very disciplined at it, but I did do some writing of short stories and plays, and so it was the craft of writing that compelled me. It was the art. It was putting words together that created meaning,
Right.
and at the same time, I knew that I probably wasn't going to make since I was not as disciplined as I should be, make the living that I could and should in order to support a wife and a family.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I loved getting into the law because trial law to me became an art and a craft. And so but it was that challenge of just, of finding what's meaningful and making a decision.
You know what I really like about that, and this is interesting, the questions I wanted to ask you and where we're going with our conversation, it's funny, you're leading. You're going right into my next thing, because I think that people who do a profession, any profession, but they use a background of creative writing or of storytelling, it really helps. I mean, building a case is huge. And I've been here a short period of time, but I've watched how all of you and the other attorneys, I've heard their discussions about building cases and how they create the narrative, the story, the things that we need to do to make that work. So that's really well put. I really like that. That's good. And you answered my next question. What drove you into the legal profession? I mean, I know your father, but then you graduated, you got your law degree, and did you say, okay, I'm gonna try this, or were you fully in, both feet in and dedicated?
Mm-hmm. Well, like I was describing earlier, I hadn't fully committed. I did go to law school,
right.
But basically because I wasn't sure what I was going to do for a living.
Okay.
And my father was the dean of the law school,
Right.
law professor. My uncle was a criminal lawyer, now a judge, and I thought, well, it's I think it's a good path. And I knew a lot of my family friends who were either lawyers or law professors,
Right.
and so I just naturally fell into it. But at the same time, and I had done mock trial with my
Right.
history teacher coaching us, so I knew that it was a good profession.
Yeah.
So.
And now the next question, or the next step, was your own law firm.
Yeah.
That's got to be a huge move to make that decision, to commit to that. And I've done some research and heard some of the things you've said about that process. But, and the thing that really touched me was I heard some story about you guys, small number of people sitting around a kitchen table when you first started. Really that kind of bond and how that helped start Parnall Law.
Yeah.
So
my wife was pregnant with our fourth child, and
wow.
my boss became a judge, and he said, he wasn't going to be my boss anymore, and he was the marketer and the manager, and so
right.
was I going to step up and make my own path and form my own law firm, or was I going to, join somebody else and be the part of some other organization? So I thought, no, it's time to make my own. And my wife was very, not just supportive of it, but I think she was demanding not in a overt way, but
right.
my wife just demands success, meaning she compels success.
Yes.
She compels doing in the most positive way, compels doing my best. And she does that with me and my kids and the people around her. She has a vision of and it's not a vision of success on its own. It's a vision of successfully helping other people.
That's really interesting. I'm fortunate, and I like that. When you meet families, or it was when we were down in Roswell opening our new office. And I had the privilege, and it was fun to be riding in a vehicle with you and Marta, your wife, and hearing your conversation about, everything from marketing to Roswell, the place, to, you know what I mean? And for me, that was really cool to hear, because you could tell that you guys it's a different level.
Yeah.
And you're right. It's not overtly demanding, but she's in there.
Yeah.
Kind of guiding and coaching, and I thought that was really telling. That was really cool.
Well, I credit her with a lot of our success together in helping our community. I think I was driven to do that throughout my life, and I just found the right partner who helped support me in doing that.
That's so cool.
So, and we talk a lot about everything. So
yeah. All right. So a lot of firms out there, a lot of, pick any industry, any business, but let's talk about law. The 5 T's. Very few people take the time, again, back to your background, your reading, your love of new knowledge, and where'd the 5 T's come from?
So it came from just a lot of thinking, and a lot of experimentation, and with values, there are a lot of words out there that they sound good, or that do reflect what you're trying to embody in terms of values and character. It took many years, and I had been writing things down that I thought reflected the values of not just me but the organization as a whole.
Yes.
And I think it was just I like, again, back to writing and the context of words. I like poetry, and I liked the poetry of the symbolism of the 5 and the all beginning. It's an alliteration, all beginning with T.
Right.
And
I love it.
I liked the sequence and the synchronicity of all 5 together, and they go in order. It starts with starts with team, because that's the foundation of what we do and how we do things. And we have a good definition of that I can get back to later. Team, and then, of course, it takes talent. We need talented people. And in the middle of it all, in the middle of the 5 is truth. And that's the core: truth, integrity, honesty, transparency. And number 4 is tenacity, being a bulldog, which I am, Albuquerque High, being diligent, tenacious, persistent, until you, number 5, triumph. And so the order makes sense, the flow makes sense, and it's the five, and not just one. You can't just and it was Coach K, that famous basketball coach, who he had these same 5 values that I learned about later on. Not the same words, but he had 5 core values, and he analogized it to a hand. And when you're fighting, you can't win with one finger.
One finger.
You have to bring all of all of them together to form that team to win.
I love it. That's so cool. What a great, I love how that fits together nicely too. They're not just sitting there as just statements that are not like active in what we do every day. So that's pretty cool. Yeah. So, all right, getting to the end here, so I've got a couple of questions for you. This one's going to be kind of bold and big, but what's the number one challenge facing Albuquerque today? This is your home. It's where you grew up. This is where you've chosen to base Parnall Law. What's the biggest challenge that you see it facing us today?
Belief.
Interesting.
Belief that we can and should and are doing better than we realize.
Okay.
That we can do better, that we should do better, but that we are doing better than we think we are. And there's a lot of opinions and discussions about all these metrics in Albuquerque, like crime and homelessness, that do indicate a scarcity and a kind of a poverty of culture, of
quality of life, I guess.
Of civilization.
Yeah. Right.
But at the same time, I think sometimes we think about those things a little too much, and we don't have the deep and fundamental belief that this is a good place. This is a good place worth investing in.
Thank you.
Mayor Keller spoke at the Economic Forum yesterday and he was asked what will move the needle, and he accurately and rightfully said investment in these initiatives that will move us forward.
Right.
And he was alluding to New Mexico's surplus of money in its budget, not to mention the reserve fund. And there are many initiatives that we could be putting money into, like amplifying UNM's budget to partner up with Sandia to recruit and retain all this enormous young talent that we have in the sciences and engineering. And we've already have it. Let's boost it and amplify it. That's one example.
That's really cool.
And so I'm listening to that, but I'm also thinking what's making us not invest, and that is the belief that we can, should and must invest to make us an even better culture than we are.
I love that, and it's interesting, isn't it? That can apply to a lot of other cities or around the country. Belief, the hope, the thought that we can be better. There are things we should be doing. I really like that. So, well, hey, this is the bonus round. Every interview I ask this last question. If you weren't an attorney and there was no Parnall Law, what would you be doing with yourself?
Well, there I'm getting back to when you asked who I was, and I said you'd be surprised at some of the things. And there, I guess you could call them parlor tricks, but I learned to walk a tightrope and eat fire and blow fire from some.
Nice, excellent.
And that's just because I have this curiosity for adventure.
Right.
So I'd like to say I'd either be a circus artist or a yoga teacher. I almost went to India to learn yoga from Patabi Joyce to be a teacher before
This is diversity.
That was a third option before I buckled down and said, no, I'm going to be a trial lawyer.
That's really cool.
That actually helped me find my path in terms of learning about the Bhagavad Gita and fulfilling one's one's destiny.
Yeah.
So what would I be? I'd be any number of those things, but it's I haven't really thought about it in many decades because I enjoy what I am and what I do.
Good. Hey, Bert Parnall, it's been a pleasure. Thank you for coming on, and we'll have some more conversations. I'd love to have you come on with your dad, your father.
Oh, that'd be nice.
I think that'd be really cool to have a conversation. Yeah. So, well, thank you very much, sir. Thanks.
You're welcome, and thank you, Chris.
Yeah.
All right.